The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Topic Time with Harrison Young. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Topic Time with Harrison Young. We are in the first week of October as it's wrapping up. This is my second show in October. It is a beautiful Indian summer type day out there. As you can see, the foliage behind me, taken by my great tech guy, Joe Borman here at ECAT, is sweet. The leaves, the orange leafage is just beginning to, settle in. And I have an awesome guest tonight in the Tampa, Florida area. He's an actor. He's a filmmaker. He's got a ton of historical paraphernalia in his quadrant there. But before we get to him, I'm going to read these incredible underwriters, and then we will commence per usual. So we have Lynch's Towing, Auto, Cycle, and Truck Center in Brockton. One number for towing, one number for projects. Lynch is always looking for new scrap metal, wheels, anything to do with transportation. He does it all there. We have Johnny Macaroni's Restaurants, 2 in East Bridgewater, 1 in Halifax. We have Carver Jewelers, Ronald R. and Lyle Delano Goldsmiths in Carver. We have 111 Tattoo Collective in Brockton. We have Auto Town Auto Glass and Auto Body in Abington. We have One Good Credit in Brockton. We have A1's Tire and Auto Center in Brockton, always in search of new service writers and techs. And even if you don't know how to do it, send someone by that does. We have Countertops Express in North Attleboro, experts in the installation and removal of quartz and granite. We have Easton Fitness in the Village Shops in Northeastern. We have the Gunrunner LLC, the Second Amendment Freedom Store in Middleborough. We have Grant's Rental in Bridgewater. We have the Rug Resort in Northeastern. Healthy Clean is for tomorrow. Is a great tomorrow. Healthy Clean is a great tomorrow, I guess. We have Doggy Boutique, all-breed professional grooming for dogs and cats, run by my great next-door neighbor, Debbie Siddell in Brockton. We have RW Carpet and Flooring in Norton, covering floors for 50 years. Yes, Doggy Boutique is in Brockton, run by my great next-door neighbor, Debbie Siddell. And we have Joe's Diner in Taunton. I want to thank you guys very much. And now I will introduce this young man, Mr. Hyker LaRiviere. Is that it? Is that how you say it?
That's close.
Okay. Well,
LaRiviere, like
okay.
Paul Revere.
I got to tell you, right off the bat, you kind of remind me of Wilford Brimley, the old Quaker Roach actor. You're not old, but he's passed. But you have that same charisma.
Well, I'm just as old. I haven't given it up to Ghost yet.
Exactly. I know. Yeah, I know. But you're as youthful as you're probably more youthful than I am in many ways. Maturation level is probably equal, which is low in my case. And I think because if you mature too fast, your zest for life goes too fast, and neither of us wants that, obviously. But all right, so we talked the other day. We set this interview up, and you look very, very interesting as far as credentials on Facebook. But once we talked on the phone, you threw me a whole bunch of other things to talk about as well. So why don't we just let's sum up your career in filmmaking and acting. Just give a little synopsis of that, and if I have any questions, I'll roll them in, and then ultimately we're going to profile you going back to time as a kid, which I know wasn't that long ago because I do that with every guest. So go ahead, let's start with that, if you would, please.
Well, I'm old enough to have actually filmed using film.
Yeah, I understand. I'm barely old enough to have done that. So
when I was going to high school in Lowell, Massachusetts, I
got
my first. Okay. Yeah, both of my parents were born in Lowell. I was born in Athol, Massachusetts.
Okay. Yeah, next to Amherst.
During World War II, my parents were assigned as their official government job to go and run the shoe shop and make boots for the soldiers in 1943, 44, and run the Orange Shoe. And I even have in back of me a pair of shoes that were made by my mother and father back then.
Huh, interesting.
Boots for the soldiers.
Okay, wow.
And then, so anyway, in Lowell, Massachusetts, I was going to high school, and then I got my first 8mm camera.
Okay.
And I was always taking still pictures, but I got my first 8mm camera, and I shot a bunch of things, of course, with no sound or anything. Then I got a Super 8 with sound.
Okay.
And I made music videos long before MTV. I made music videos that nobody cares about, but I always say I had fun doing them, and I made videos of the beaches and all that, of course. And then I decided to go to film school. And in Boston, there was an organization which just went out of business a couple of years ago called Boston Film Video Foundation, which was founded by the person who owned Star Markets. And I went there, and I graduated in December of 1976.
Okay, that's when that was my senior year of high school. I
And
know.
then from cable access television, I borrowed a Ikegami camera, and I bought a 3/4 inch U-matic cassette deck. If you remember when the tapes used to be this big,
I do remember. Yep.
3/4 inch wide. And a friend of mine, Harvey Champagny, and I put the stuff in the back of the car in 1976 and drove around looking for something to video. And then we were going through Drake, Massachusetts, and we saw a sign that said snowshoe races today. Now, I didn't even know anybody did snowshoe racing,
Okay.
but we got the idea that, okay, well, we'll videotape this. So we need a name for a company. So that was a Canadian snowshoe racing teams against the New England snowshoe racing team. So we came up instantly with the name Can-Am Press.
Okay.
And I took out the equipment. I walked over and I said, "We're from Can-Am Press. We would like to video your races." And they said, "Okay, no problem."
Sweet.
So we shot it. We put it on a 3/4 inch U-matic tape, sent it to CKSH in Sherbrooke, Quebec in Canada on Channel 9.
Okay.
And we sold 4 minutes of it for $400 a minute. That was my first show I ever sold.
That's incredible.
And it was shown nationwide in Canada. Of course, we weren't good enough for America yet, but in Canada, they liked it. And Harvey spoke French. So he asked the questions to people in French and they answered them. Then I asked them the questions in English and they answered them, and we had sent it up in the tape.
Wow. Okay.
So that was what I did. And so then for the next 3 years, we just kept making more and more videos, and they would send us, the Prime Minister of Newfoundland is going to visit the governor of Massachusetts. Can you go over there and talk with them? And then, they would send us to different things.
Okay.
And we did things like go to the beach and show people eating lobsters in Maine and all that kind of stuff, little silly stuff.
Okay.
And then it sort of it advanced to the point where I started to get some work as extras in other people's movies and everything. And then I kept buying more and more cameras and kept collecting them.
Okay.
Saving the old ones, because you can't throw away a camera. You can throw everything else, but nobody ever throws away a camera.
That's true.
So the collection just built up and built up over the years. And then when I moved to Florida, I joined the FMPTA, the Florida Motion Picture and Television Association, which at that time was the largest organization of its type in the state of Florida, with chapters all over the state.
When did you move? When did you move to Florida? What year?
I'd moved in March 1984.
Okay. All right.
And then, so with that organization, we did all kinds of things. We made all kinds of videos. We did a lot of public promotions for nonprofit organizations and things like that. Then we got to be extras in regular big commercial movies and everything. And so I wound up getting an agent.
Okay.
Who was in St. Petersburg, Florida. And she's a really, really nice lady. And she does a lot of getting actors for lots and lots of movies.
Wow.
And so over the years, that's what I did. And then when I saw Avatar in 2000 and whatever it was, 2008 when it came out, I think it was.
Okay.
I fell in love with that 3D. I said, "Oh, that's beautiful." So I went around and I went to the 3 colleges that I know around here that teach filmmaking. And I said, "I would like to learn how to do that." And they all said, "We have no idea how to do that."
Wow.
So then I found the man that was the principal photographer for the movie, for James Cameron, and I wound up arranging to go to California, and it cost me $1,000 a day for 3 days, and I worked as his assistant. I learned 3D filmmaking.
Oh wow!
He was working on Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay.
3D.
You must have thought it was. You must have really thought it was worth it. That's a lot of bread to pay to learn one skill. I know it's important to you, but obviously that meant it didn't matter. You were doing okay anyway. So
yeah, I always did reasonably okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I found the harder I work, the luckier I get.
Yeah, that's true. I know.
I've always been a hard worker.
Yeah.
So anyway, the result was that I learned how to do the film, and then I wound up. I called Panasonic, who was making a 3D camera.
Okay.
Camera, which I asked him. I said, "Well, I'm into 3D filmmaking. I would like to borrow the camera for a weekend." And much to my surprise, they sent a truck from Orlando with the camera and all the supporting equipment and a 3D monitor to Land O'Lakes, Florida, where my RV park was.
Okay.
And they taught me how to use it. And that weekend, there was an event going on with girls boxing and with bikinis. So I made a 3D documentary called Boxing Babes.
Okay. Wow. I like it.
In 3D, and I put it out on Blu-ray disc and I've shipped them all over the place, and I wound up getting a best 3D short film for 2010
Wow.
for the trailer of that movie. So that was fun. And then the 3 colleges in Florida, I wound up teaching 3D filmmaking at all 3 of them. So
Wow.
that's that story. And then my collections kept building up. And one day at the FMPTA, at that time I was on the board of directors, and another member of the board of directors came in to me and said, "Hey, this postman in Athens, Greece, just got the Guinness World Record for having the world's largest collection of movie cameras. He has 500 of them."
Wow.
And this friend of mine, he said, "You got more than he does." I said, "Come on, you'd have to be certifiable to have that many cameras." So I went home and I started counting, and when I got to 600, I realized I was certifiable.
So now you're in the Guinness Book of Records for having more cameras.
So then I got my first Guinness World Record for the world's largest movie camera collection.
Okay.
I had 984 at the time. I now have 1,600, and no, I don't want any more.
Well, why? I'm just curious. Why would you? I mean, I know you're great at what you do. Why would you need so many cameras? I mean, I have to.
I don't know. See, some people are into cocaine, and other people drink. I collect cameras. I've never used cocaine,
okay.
And I've never been drunk.
Okay, I understand. It feels good to collect them, so you collect them.
Yeah, and then I want to open a museum.
Okay.
I set up a temporary museum in Land O'Lakes, Florida, and I got it all ready just at the time the COVID hit.
Oh, yeah, I know. That must have sucked, obviously.
And then I decided, this isn't going to work too well. So I made a 27-minute video, a tour of the museum, and I got it on my YouTube channel, Land of Id.
Okay.
And then so everybody can see that. And then I'm offering the whole collection to anybody who has a building that might want to put the museum. I've got $4 million worth of artifacts and to donate to the museum.
Okay, and that includes what you were pointing out in your room as we started. You want to go over those things now, as long as we're on the subject?
Okay, if you want to.
Sure, go ahead.
All right, so I'll just take the phone off of the holder here.
Yep.
And hopefully I won't lose you.
Hopefully not.
I guess I'll start over the back. This is the background I built for me to use for when I do my own videos.
Okay.
And I put a whole bunch of odd stuff here. So over here we have, of course, the Guinness World Records. I have that's what they look like. All you get for a Guinness World Record is a certificate suitable for framing.
Good.
And there's my Tesla. Elon hasn't got around to making the full size one for me yet.
Okay.
All kinds of things here, and these are actually props from movies. And there's my Land of Id sign, and this brain was used in by Universal Studios in a kids program on Saturday mornings. Okay. And of course, I've got the creature from the Black Lagoon poster, which is in French, but it was actually made here in Florida. This here is Walt Disney's favorite camera, the Mitchell 16. He made all of his stop-action films. And I hope I'm holding the phone right because I'm standing in back of it. But
I'm seeing everything. It looks great.
This is a tiger skull that was carried by Liz Westmeiler in the movie Tarzan the Ape Man in 1932.
Okay.
And there's the boots that my parents made for the soldiers in World War II.
Wow.
And you saw the movie Tank Girl?
I didn't, but go on. Talk about it.
This is the helmet that Ice-T wore in the movie Tank Girl.
Okay. Wow, I know Ice-T is.
And then, of course, this is an Arriflex 16-millimeter camera. And next to it is a projector that was made by Alva C. Roebuck, the co-founder of Sears and Roebuck.
Yep,
he also made movie projectors, and that was made in 1896.
Wow.
That's my oldest one. So all kinds of odd things here. And then, of course, there's the train that was made by Keystone in Boston.
Okay.
They were back in the teens, teens.
Yeah, the 19s.
They were making kids' toys, and so the reason I have that here is because that they were making kids' toys, and they found out that they could make projectors out of tin using the same tools they used for making the toys, and that's how got them into the movie camera and movie projector business.
Okay.
And then over here, of course, we've got my girlfriend, the Corpse Bride.
Sweet.
And this is the only life-size model of the Corpse Bride that was ever made, because she was made with 12-inch puppets in the actual movie, and this was made so that Tim Burton could see what she looked like.
Okay.
And then over here we've got a thing called a moviola, which was used for editing films. And there's a picture of Walt Disney.
Wow.
Right there, standing next to this machine. which says Walt Disney Productions, number 57, right on the side.
Yep. Wow.
And this is a newer version of that. And then I've got different things. I got something out in the yard too that's really wonderful. But this is the actual microphone boom. If you watched I Love Lucy, the old black and white TV shows,
I
you've
have.
seen this microphone boom many times when Desi walks out and starts talking with the audience and
Okay.
so forth. And then there was a movie called Soul Plane.
Yep.
And this is the actual one of the only 3 blinged out luggage carts that they actually made for that movie. You know,
Wow.
this is just representative of the kinds of stuff I have. And down here we have an area where I have where I make sculptures,
Okay.
and this is all my equipment. And of course, this truck, you see the 1946 white,
Yep.
that is from Tewksbury, Massachusetts, and it used to say Labonte Oil Company, and it delivered home heating oil to my parents' house in the 1950s.
Okay.
And then I got a couple of 1930 Chevys and of course the Bugatti down here.
Wow.
And so that's what's around me.
Pretty thorough. That's good stuff.
And every piece here has a story that goes along with it. Now I get across my hand. I'm going to put you back on the stand. That's the tour.
That's a great tour. Okay. Well, what are you currently working on?
I can give you the finish of the story on my movie history, which
Yeah, go ahead.
that career might be over now.
Okay.
But 2 years ago there was a movie called Zola, which
Okay.
was directed by Janitza Bravo,
Okay.
and I had a very small part in it. I want you to know.
What was it?
After all these years of being in the movie and television industry, I have diligently remained at my position at entry level.
Okay.
Except for I did a few other things too along the way. But anyway, I had a part in that movie, and it's called a dark comedy, and it's called Zola.
Okay.
Zola.
Right.
And Janitza got a Academy Award nomination about 3 years ago, so that was pretty good. That was not for this movie, of course.
Okay.
But anyway, so that was my last thing, and I haven't done anything since then. So what I'm working on now, you asked,
Yes.
is I want to do a whole bunch of short videos for my YouTube channel, telling a lot of the history and a lot of the knowledge that I have, because some people have been asking me about this. It's like, what is the history of that projector? Why would this Mr. Roebuck of Sears and Roebuck have made a projector?
Right.
You know what I mean? And there's a big story that goes along with that. There's all kinds of, every little thing here that has a story to go along with it. So I was going to do those stories, and a lot of stories of my life in New England and things that I did up there that might be of interest to people. It's sort of like an old guy reminiscing.
Right.
But except it'll be very interesting, I think, to people.
It
And
will
my
be.
daughter wants me to do this too, so that's what I'm doing. And then, of course, I've decided to become a professional full-time artist. So I bought this farm. I sold my resort
Okay.
in 14 months ago. I
Okay.
sold my resort, and I bought this property 2 days later, and I have 10.3 acres here. I've got frontage right on a giant lake, Lake Manatee, in the
Okay.
back with my sailboat and everything on there. And then I've got 200 beehives at the other end of the property.
Wow.
And I got what they call a food farm. I planted all kinds of fruit trees and berry bushes and everything else all over the place. So I love that. And then in the middle of all of the trees, I'm putting in a sculpture garden with sculptures that I'm making and sculptures that my friends are making. So
Okay.
that's what I'm really into now. And I do a lot of paintings too. And other parts of this building has a gallery and other rooms for production and different things.
Oh, great. So you're
Keep plenty busy for an old guy.
okay. Yeah, I guess you do. So now you kind of went from filming to farming.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's almost the same.
I know.
No, I've always loved to grow things my whole life. And I've always loved art. And of course, film is one type of art.
It is.
But filming, today, everybody thinks you can make a full-length feature film on your phone.
Right.
You know, and I say, well, you know, there are lenses that are very good, that are much better than a phone. And I have to go through this story all the time with people. But anyway, so I'm sort of not doing any big film work anymore.
Okay.
I do help out with some music videos every now
Okay.
and then with people. The biggest music video I ever worked on was with a band from South Carolina. and they're a band. Let's see, they're Papyrus was the name of their song,
Okay.
and the band sung. They had an Egyptian theme to everything they did,
Okay.
and the reason I wound up getting to work on that is because at that time I had a whole warehouse full of props that were made in Rome in 1962
Okay.
for the movie Cleopatra with Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton,
Oh yeah.
and they so that we shot the music video around all of these props.
Okay.
You see,
Wow.
so they were used in the music video, and so the video is called Papyrus, and it's on YouTube also, and it's got hundreds of thousands of views, maybe millions by now, and it was very good. And then what happened with those props is a few years later, Elizabeth Taylor died,
Yes.
and then the auction house in London called me up and said, "Do you want to sell those props as part of the Elizabeth Taylor tribute auction?" So I said, "Okay." So I packed the props in a big steel shipping container,
Okay.
like a trailer truck, and they went to London, and they were sold at the auction. So
Okay.
so I no longer have those anymore.
All right.
Uh,
Well,
but
okay.
it was nice to have them, and they were distributed around the world, and I'm sure millionaires have them in their houses.
Okay. All right. Now, have you done any, speaking of music at all, have you performed music yourself? Have you ever done anything like that? And, sing, dance, played an instrument, played in a band, anything like that, or done any kind?
No, I love music, and I
Okay.
have around me here. You can't see them, but I have a Hammond organ with a Leslie
Okay.
that was given to me by the keyboard player from the band Velvet Underground
Okay.
just before he was in his 90s and he went into a home
Wow.
and gave me his organ.
Okay.
And then I have a four manual Yamaha in the other room, and I sit there all the time and I play on them. And I play with them, but I'm not good enough to perform in public. But music is so much fun to just sit there and try to do it is great. But
is.
after 50 years of trying, I'm still not really good enough to perform in public yet.
Okay.
Sometimes I do a little backup with the harmonica, but that's about the rest I can do.
Okay. What about sports? Have you ever played sports? You look athletic. Even now, you look athletic.
No, me carry heavy stones.
Well, that's right.
Bang on things with hammers on the anvil.
Well, I actually thought you had like a weightlifting gym behind you for a minute, because it looks like you got all. I mean, from when I'm sitting, it kind of looks like that.
Yeah, it's all equipment for working with metal shears.
You're right. Okay, so you haven't really.
The one thing I like athletically is I love to go kayaking.
Okay.
And I've kayaked in maybe 50 places all over Florida, and right on the back of my property now, I have frontage on Lake Manatee and the Manatee River, so I have 4 kayaks down there,
Wow.
so I can go in the water anytime I want and kayak upstream and up little tributaries and everything. And a lot of my friends come here, and we go as groups, and that's my exercise. Of course, gardening is great exercise.
It is. You ever encounter gators? Ever encounter gators out there in those lakes?
Oh yes, we have a couple of really big ones that live right in back of my house.
Okay.
And I don't know why this happened, because this building that I'm in now is probably 500-600 feet away from the lake. But one day I came back to my art studio, and I came in the door, and then across the building from me, there's a 4-foot alligator inside the building.
Wow.
And I left the back door open. So I got a broom and I scooted it out the door. It was hissing at me and everything, and it went out, and I've never seen it again. I'll see it again. Of course, the ones that are in the lake are even bigger than that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But alligators are something, if you're from Florida, you sort of live with them.
Well, yeah, I'm sure you do. I mean, I'm just curious because I've never actually been to Florida. I had a chance to go in 1980 before I found my true calling. I was doing inventory at a company out of Mansfield, Mass. That was a Boston-based company. And they had branches all over the country, and I could have gone to Fort Lauderdale with my grandfather, who was down there visiting his sister, my great aunt. But it made more sense for me to stay up here and work around here. So, but at some point I'll definitely get down there. I definitely want to and see those beautiful gators. All right, so well, do you ever give tours of your place? And it sounds like it looks like you got kind of a museum type place there with all that stuff.
Yeah, well, I had a museum in Land O'Lakes. I built a purpose-built building for the museum and spent all the time during coronavirus setting it all up, and that's when I
Okay.
made the video. But then I packed everything in boxes, and when I showed you the tour around, you saw the pallet racking in the back with all the boxes piled up 19 feet to the ceiling.
Okay.
That's all the stuff from the museum. It's all packed up, waiting for someone to has a place to put the museum. Then it'll
Okay,
all
that's what
go.
you were talking about earlier, right?
Yes.
Great. Okay, I
So
got
that's
you.
what that is now. Right now, the only thing I do here is people come here and they do look at the plants, and they come to the art gallery to look at paintings and sculptures.
Okay.
And then I'm just now digging out more of the film stuff
Okay.
because I want to have a room, with a representative of the collection, not a real museum, until somebody comes along that has during the coronavirus thing, it was hard to do anything.
Right.
You remember? So
I
you're
do.
lucky. You had a television show, so you got.
I did, but I had a 4-month hiatus too because of the virus too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you could
Yes.
almost do it from home.
Yeah, no,
No?
I couldn't do it from home. We couldn't do it anywhere. We couldn't go anywhere for 4 months in 2020 between. I did my last show here for 4 months on March 12th of 2020, and then I didn't do another show until July 8th of 2020 at my other location. I have 3 now, but so that was 4 months, and it was so great to be back. Everybody celebrated when we finally came back. So
Yes.
well,
At
listen,
the resort, in order to make it through the coronavirus thing, and of course I had a resort, but we didn't have that many. We didn't have any events during that period.
right?
We just had all the people that stayed in the RV park. So at that time, I built an art studio in another building I had at
Okay.
the back of the property, and I started doing paintings and a lot of mono printing and everything. And that's when I got really back into my art.
Okay.
And then so that when I sold the resort, I came here and bought this huge building to do the art in.
Okay.
I would like to make some sculptures though. Maybe I could. I have a lot of problems when I have like an antique movie projector. And some
Okay.
people drill holes in them and make a lamp out of them. And I say, but that's an antique movie projector. You can't do that.
Well,
you know? So
I understand.
it's hard to use the stuff as an item.
Okay, well, guess what? We're down to the final 5 minutes of the show. I hope you had fun talking to me. You certainly are a very impressive person.
Well, I didn't realize I was talking that much.
No, well, I'm glad you were because you made my time much easier. I like it when guests talk and have a lot to say because it saves me the effort of trying to interrogate them, which I really don't like doing. But you did great, so I hope you had fun.
Well, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I used to love to give tours of the museum to the couple of hundred people I did during the coronavirus. That's the only time the museum existed.
Okay, well,
but that's over with now. And now I'm like I say, I've got all this stuff here, and it needs a home.
okay,
So somebody who has a building, it can go into the building.
okay,
And then it would be nice to put it all. I have every movie camera ever made by Keystone in Boston.
sweet.
There's about 130 different models, and it makes a beautiful display. You can see them all from the first one to the last one. Then, of course, they never made it into digital. So all these companies went out of business when the digital came along.
Right.
Nobody made film cameras anymore, so they're gone.
Okay.
But it was a nice part of the history.
Absolutely. All right. Well, if you had fun, what I'd like you to do is if you know anybody that has an interesting story to tell, you got my digits, have them text me. We'll get them on the show either by Zoom or in person. I love getting guests from word of mouth.
I'll have people get in touch with you because I know lots of people that might be very interesting to you.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to wrap the show up now. What I'd like you to, if it's okay, would you stick around and do some pictures for Facebook? My tech guy will take them. We'll tag you.
Okay.
All right. All right, folks. We're wrapping up the show. Hope you had fun. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Signing off. Over and out. Oops. One more try. We can do this. There we go. You got it.